Hello and welcome to Teaching Through Repertoire. We're going to be working on the first violin part for a piece called El Toro. This piece is in 3/4 time, which means there are 3 beats per measure and the quarter note gets the beat. Also, take a look at that key signature. There's 1 sharp. Now that means that every F is now an F sharp in the piece. But because we know this is potentially a newer key signature for some of you, that means thinking about our A string, we still have low second finger C, not up to C sharp. Remember, the A and the E string for the violins, low second fingers, C natural and G natural. All right, so here we go. I'm going to take it at a slow tempo and work through a little bit here and remind everybody about some of the things to look at. So looking here right at the very beginning, you'll see that there is a note in the first measure that's in parentheses. That means only play it when we do the DC. DC al coda. We don't play it the first time. So we start out by resting. First 4 measures are in silence. Now when we get to measure 5, we place our bow on the string and we have a lift. Lift. Now in measure 6, we have a down on the C and then double up for the next 2 quarter notes. Now in measure 7, you're going to see that there's an up bow printed. Well, that's only if we're doing a bowing as it comes, but I prefer strong downbeats, which means we're going to have a down bow on every first beat of the measure. So disregard the up bow in measure 7 and maybe even mark the down bow symbol. So measure 7, we lift and then we have open A, and then here's our slurred staccato double up, which we'll be doing every time we have the 3/4 note pattern. Up, up. Right, so here's measures 5 through 12. 1, 2, and 3, and ready. Measure 5. 1, 2, 3. Measure 6. Double up, lift. Measure 8. Double up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Off. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. What you noticed was in measure 9 and 10, we have a tie. Since a dotted half note gets 3 beats, when we tie those together, we're holding that note for 6 counts. However, as professional musicians, we don't count to 6. We just count to 3 2 times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's the best way for keeping track of where we are in the measure. Okay, looking ahead at 13, we have the big melody. So, measure 12, it's a pickup. The notes in measure 12 belong to the phrase that starts in measure 13. So make sure you have a nice up bow on that first finger E, and then when you get to measure 13, make sure you count to 3 so you hold that note long enough. Skipping ahead to 15, we have 8th notes, so whatever tempo we're going, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3. Make sure that you're subdividing early enough so that when you see the 8th notes, you don't panic and just go randomly faster. At the end of measure 15, we have another tie. That F sharp is tied to the F sharp in measure 16. Make sure that when you see those 2 notes that you count through that bowing. For example, 1 and 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3. That way you're feeling rhythm the entire time and not just holding it randomly longer. Okay, looking ahead, if you look at 17, we have our nice dotted half note again. In 18, 3/4 notes that lead to 19, which is tied to the F sharp. That's the whole melody. Let's play measures 12 all the way to 21. Here we go. Instruments up, bow on the string. It starts up bow. Ready and rest. 2, 3, 13. 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. 17, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Tie, 2, 3. 1. Rest, rest. And then we're in 21. Now from 21 to 27, we get to play the backup role for the violas and cellos who now have the melody. So make sure it's very light and very short. Rest, rest. We want to have lots of energy in our sound, which means we release the tension in our knuckles, grab the string, and pull off the string slightly so that the instrument can ring. In measure 21, 22, 23, and 24, you have a rest on beat 1. Remember, that squiggly is a quarter rest and it's worth 1 beat. Looking ahead at 25, you have what's called a crescendo. You have the two lines that are expanding from each other, and that means to start soft, and by the time you get to 27, you should be playing with a very full volume. So here's measures 21 all the way to 30. Ready, set, and rest. Rest. 23, 24, start soft, crescendo, and forte. 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, 1. And what you're going to notice is that this next section, we go right back to having the melody again. But this time, our composer, Brubaker, has written it in what's called octaves. So you can play the higher note or the lower note. And when we play things in octaves, it becomes more powerful sounding because the orchestra has now expanded in its range. If you're a younger musician, you might want to just stick to that lower octave, which are the notes that you already learned at measure 13. If you're someone who's pushing themselves to learn some new notes or wants more experience on the E string, you can read the upper notes. The upper notes start on open E, and then right away we might get fooled with that low second finger G. Make sure we have G natural, low second finger, not high second finger. In 31, that's fourth finger B on the E string. Make sure your hand is open, that you're on the tip of your finger, and that your arm is allowing you to reach without it being collapsed, without having the knuckles fall against the hand. Keep the wrist open, keep the hand wide, and let your pinky reach down to the fingerboard so we're on the tips of our fingers. That way we can anchor better, we can play more in tune, and we can just have a stronger shape without actually using strength. Looking ahead, we have the exact same rhythms as we did at measure 13, and if you get confused by which note that is, you can find it in the lower octave. So we have our fourth finger B, we have our third finger high A, and we have our low second finger G natural and our first finger F sharp. This melody goes all the way to 39. Once we get to 39, it's melodic, but not the melody. Just like in 31, you get to choose the octave, higher or lower. The lower octave, those are notes on the D and A string, and the upper ones are notes on the E string. It'll be a nice review if you're already trying to learn the E string notes at measure 31. The tricky thing about 39 is the rhythm and the bowing. We have lots of up bows after a rest. So we have rest, 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 rest. So you have to feel the pulse in your body through the rests and while you're doing those two note slurs. There's a lot of math going on to make sure our bow is managing how long we have to hold each note when our hand is moving at a different speed. So here's measures 30 all the way to measures 46. Let's see how we do with the melody and the melodic music that follows. Here's measure 30. 1, 2, 3, rest. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 32, 2, 3, 33, 1, 2, 3, 35, 2, 3, 36, 2, 37, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 41, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest, 3, rest. 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, off. That takes us all the way to 49. Make sure you're doing large blocks of rests that you still keep track of where you are by feeling the pulse and counting that pulse through the silence. One thing to notice, look at measure 45. On top, it's got that symbol. Looks kind of like a compass. That means to jump to the coda. So make sure that the second time through the piece, your eye has to catch that symbol so you can jump down to measure 65. Just like your math teacher has taught you, you're going to be counting measure 43, 44, 45, 65 or so. So here is measure 49. 49 is the music we've already learned at measure 5. So we don't have to review that, but we do have to look at 53. At 53, we have all sorts of Italian happening. We have piano, so on the second beat we get soft, and then starting on the third beat we get louder and we slow down until we get all the way to measure 55, where it has SFZP, sforzando piano. Now the forzando piano, that's like when you open a door and a gust of wind comes through. Lots of energy that's built from a change in pressure. So if you go to measure 53, the first note, short and loud, and the second note is soft, and it gets louder and slower until the SFZP. What you're going to see is I'm going to grab the string, I'm going to speed my bow very quickly to this hit, and then disappear. And I'm going to stay very, very quiet for a while, because the violins have a solo here. A single violinist will start to play while the whole orchestra sustains this very quiet and mysterious chord. You'll see it in the violin part. You don't play that part unless you're the soloist. If you are the soloist, you can enjoy being all on your own and taking your time or speeding up as you wish. You'll see what it says is to get louder and to get faster, starting somewhere there in the middle. So you could do it like this. You could take more time, you could speed up even more. It's your solo. And while you play that as a soloist, the rest of us will be very, very quiet and underneath that one solitary violin. That happens again at 56, but this time it's a cello playing the solo. So you place your bow, you let the string warm up, and then you whoosh to the tip. And you stay very, very soft so the solo cello can break through. And that takes us to 57. Now 57 starts with a rest, and it also has the word slowly. The whole orchestra is very slow here and very quiet, because the battle's about to begin. So while you're resting, you're listening for the cellos and the basses to feel the tempo, because by the time you come in at measure 61, the speed will be here, and it'll keep getting faster and faster and faster, and at the end of measure 64, it says DC al coda, which means to go all the way back to measure 1. And in measure 1, you'll see that first finger be in the parentheses, and this time you get to play it because it's after we've gone all the way to the end and we're coming back to the beginning. So here's measure 57, where we listen to the cellos, and then we'll jump in together at 61. 57, ready, set, and go. 1 and 2 and 3, 58 and 2 and 3, 59, 2, 3, 60, 61, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Back to measure 1 and back in tempo. Now the second time around, you play every measure again all the way up until 45. Get your eyes to jump all the way to measure 43 and then 44. At the end of 44, your eyes have to skip down to measure 65, where the coda is, and that's where the song finishes. So let's practice the coda, and then we'll practice the jump. Here's measure 65 to the end. Ready and set and go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and lift, 2 and 3 and down, up, down, 2, 3, down, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and done. That's the coda. Now let's practice jumping into the coda. So let's go back to measure 39, and remember at the end of 44, your eyes are going to jump down to where it says coda at measure 65. 1, 2, 3, 39, and rest, up, down, 2, 3, rest, up, down, 2, 3, rest, up, down, 65, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, up, lift, 2, 3, down, up, 2, lift, 2, lift, lift. And that's El Toro. Here's the entire piece at a slow practice tempo, which you could always speed up or slow down based on your needs when you're watching this on YouTube. Here we go, from the beginning to the very end. El Toro, first violin part. 1, 2, and 3, and ready, set, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and measure 5, and lift, 2, 6, up, lift, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, up, 13, 2, 3, 1, and 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, 21, light, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 25, crescendo, and forte, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 30, up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, 1, 2, 35, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 37, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and rest, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, rest, forte, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 49, and 1. C natural, up, lift. Loud piano, 2, 3, 1, crescendo, and whoosh. Listen for our soloist. And then we go to nothing at the very tip of the bow, lift to the frog, and 56. And we stay very quiet as we hear our cello soloist. And then we fade to nothing, and here's 57. 1, 2, 3, 58, and 2, and 3, 59, 2, and 3, and 60. Here we go, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, measure 2, 2, 3, 2, and 3, and here's measure 5. 1, lift, lift, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 12, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 21, and rest. Light, 23, 24, 25, 2, 3, 27, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and rest. Up, 31, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 36, 37, 2, 3, 1, rest, 39, 2, 3, up, 2, get ready for the coda, 1, coda, now, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and ready, set, and lift, down, up, lift, down, up, 74, 75, done. All right, happy practicing. Way to make it through the whole tutorial. Find places you need to practice, focus on them, and keep working it up to tempo. Thanks for stopping by, and remember, if you practice every day, by the end of the year, you'll be taller.